Okay, so once again, good day everyone. So today, our topic focus on evidence-based decision making in public administration. Okay, so evidence-based decision making in public administration has become a cornerstone of effective, transparent, and accountable governance, particularly in Philippine context, no, where public resources are limited and citizen expectations are high. It emphasizes the systematic use of data, no, research findings, performance indicators, and credible evidence to inform policies, programs, and administrative actions, rather than relying solely on intuition, tradition, or political pressure. No, this approach encourages public officials to ground their decisions in verifiable information that reflects real social, economic, and institutional conditions. In doing so, no, evidence-based decision making strengthens public trust and improves the likelihood that government interventions will achieve their intended outcomes. So in the Philippines, no, adopting an evidence-based framework is especially critical as government agencies navigate complex challenges such as poverty reduction, digital transformation, disaster resilience, and service delivery gaps across regions. So when evidence is integrated into planning and implementation, public administrators are better equipped to align policies with national development plans, sustainable development goals, and the actual needs of communities. This approach also supports good governance principle by promoting transparency to reducing arbitrariness, no, and decision making, and enabling continuous learning with public institutions. So evidence-based decision making is not just a technical tool, but a governance mindset that values learning, accountability, and results. At this point, I would like to give the floor to our presenter who will further discuss the framework, the processes, and the practical applications of evidence-based decision making in public administration with a focus on Philippine governance. Take it away, sir.
Yes, Doc. Good morning po, Doc Marmelo. Good morning, classmates. Thank you for joining me today. I'm here to talk about something that can transform how we govern our daily tasks or decisions we have to make as managers in our respective organizations. Evidence-based decision making in public administrations. This isn't just another management catchphrase. It's a practical framework that can help us deliver better services to our kababayan, make smarter use of limited resources, and build the trust that our people deserve. Over the next minute, we'll explore how evidence-based approaches can strengthen Philippine governance at every level, from the national agencies in Manila to the barangay halls across our 7,641 islands. Next slide, please. Let me outline what we'll cover today. First, we'll understand what evidence-based decision making really means and how it differs from the way many of us were trained to make decisions. Second, we'll explore the leadership qualities you need, particularly awareness and emotional intelligence, because implementing evidence-based decision making isn't just about data, it's about people. Third, we'll tackle the ethical dilemmas you'll face because in public service, with we're not just managing budgets and programs, we're stewarding the public trust. Throughout this presentation, I'll share real examples from Philippine government agencies, both successes and challenges, so we can see how this applies to our work. Next slide, please. Let's begin with section one, understanding evidence-based decision making. By the way, I'm going to use EBDM as acronym to replace the complete words of evidence-based decision making in the succeeding part to shorten the word. Next slide, please. So, what exactly is evidence-based decision making? At its core, EBDM is a systematic approach that integrates three key elements. We have empirical research, diverse data sources, and stakeholder input. It moves us beyond making decision based purely on intuition or ito ang feeling ko or purely on politics. Ito ang gusto ng boss. Instead, EBDM asks, what does the evidence tells us? Think about how doctors practice medicine. They don't just rely on gut feeling. They look at your test results, consider the latest research, and factor in your specific circumstances. That's evidence-based medicine. We are applying the same rigor to governance. The beauty of PBDM is that it creates feedback loops. We design a program, we implement it, evaluate what works, and then improve it. It's iterative learning, getting better each cycle. This combines scientific rigor with practical realities of governance. Next slide, please. For the traditional approach to EBDM, not now, let's be honest, EBDM isn't the only way decisions get made in government. Let me contrast it with three traditional approaches. One, the intuitive decision making. It relies on personal experience and gut feeling, or parang I've been in the government for 20 years. I know what works. Well, while experience is valuable, intuition alone lacks transparency and can't be replicated. Number two is political decision making. It is driven by the ideology, interest, and power dynamics. We've all seen programs that continue because they are politically popular, even when evaluations shows they are ineffective. The bureaucratic decision making follows rigid rules and understand operating procedures. This is how we've always done it. It values compliance over results. Evidence-based decision making is different. It integrates the best available evidence with professional expertise, stakeholder values, and contextual factors. It acknowledges political realities but doesn't let politics override the facts. Let me give you an example. When the Department of Social Welfare Development designed Tantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or the PORPIS, they didn't just copy a program from another country. They look at the international evidence on conditional cash transfers, conducted pilot studies in communities, gathered feedback from beneficiaries, and then scaled up based on what's the data showed. That's EBDM in action. Next slide. So there are several theoretical models that inform how we practice EBDM. Number one, the rational comprehensive model assumes you can gather all the possible information and analyze every alternative before deciding. Sounds ideal, but in reality, it's impractical. You don't have unlimited time and you don't have unlimited resources. Number two, the incremental model. It takes the opposite approach, small politically feasible adjustments. Let me just tweak this year's budget by 5%. Yung parang ganun po. Parang trouble troubleshoot lang. So it's realistic but can't be too cautious. Number three, the mixed scanning models. It tries to balance both, maintain broad awareness while making focus evidence inform adjustments. This often the most practical approach for Philippine government context. Number four, the frameworks shared stakeholder. So stakeholder approach to risk informed and evidence-based decision-making emphasize cross-sectoral collaboration and stakeholder engagement. And lastly, experiment-driven policymaking. It encourages us to test, learn, and refine throughout pilot programs before full implementation. The key takeaway here is choose the model that fits your context, but always keep evidence at the center of it. Next slide, please. Why evidence-based decision making matters? Why should we care about EBDM? Because it delivers tangible benefits. First, better policy design. When you base decisions on evidence, you're more likely to design programs that actually work. You're not guessing, you're building on what's been proven effective. Second, enhance transparency and legitimacy. When you can show the public, here's the data that inform our decisions, you build trust. Because in an era of fake news and public skepticism, evidence-based governance is a powerful antidote. Third, optimize resource allocation. The Philippine government operates under tight budget constraints. Every peso wasted on ineffective programs is a peso that would have funded schools, health centers, or infrastructure. EBDM helps you invest where it matters most. Let me share a success story. This is from the Department of Health. The Department of Health used uh, evidence from health outcomes data to reform the PhilHealth coverage. Ito po yung creation ng special law na RA 11223 or the Universal Healthcare. It is the framework guiding these reforms, mandating evidence-based approach to expand coverage and improve financial protection, reduce financial burden o sama na po yung out-of-pocket payments. Then the primary care benefit packages or yung madaling yung tinatawag po na PCBB1 and PCB2. Pati po yung expanded dialysis coverage. Bakit ko po to sinabi kasi ito po yung kalimitan ng sakit ng ano natin ng mamamayang Pilipino po. Yung dialysis and din yung predicament po nila. They analyze which condition caused the most financial hardship for Filipino families and adjusted benefit packages accordingly. The result, more Filipinos protected from catastrophic health expenses. It's not perfect, but it is on the right track. That's the power of evidence-based decision making, better outcomes for our kababayans. Next slide, please. Now, let's get real about the challenges. Landmark study by Karen Resurrection examined how the Department of Education uses evaluations. The findings were sobering. While DepEd increasingly conducts evaluations, they are often used to reporting or legitimization to satisfy donors or justifying existing programs, rather than to go genuinely inform policy decisions. There's a gap between the rhetoric of evidence-based policy and the reality of how evidence is actually used. Why there are three main constraints because technical capacity. Many staff lack training in research methods and evaluation. You can't use evidence effectively if you don't understand statistics or research design. Political influence, which evaluations get conducted, how findings are interpreted, and whether recommendations are implemented often depend on political considerations. Then we have misalignment. Evaluations are sometimes commissioned without clear connection to decision maker needs. They sit on shelves, unread and unused. This isn't unique to DepEd. It's a challenge across Philippine government, but recognizing these barriers is the first step overcoming them. Next slide, please. So let's expand on those challenges. We have limited analytical capacity and data infrastructure. Many LGUs don't have the system to collect quality data, let alone analyze it. Selective use of evidence or cherry picking findings that support what you already knew or wanted to do. This intellectual dishonesty masquerading as evidence-based policy. Then blame avoidance strategies, especially during COVID-19 crisis. Some officials prioritize protecting their reputation over following expert advice. Then inflexible administrative systems. These are rigid procurement rules. For example, can prevent you from adopting programs based on evaluation findings. Then lack of institutionalized monitoring evaluation routines, monitoring. And evaluation shouldn't depend on one champion. It needs to be embedded in organizational culture. Overcoming these barriers requires coordinated effort, building capacity, aligning incentives, and creating institutional routines that make evidence use the norm, not the exception. Next slide, sir, please. Now let's move to section 2, leadership, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. Next slide, please. Here's the truth. Evidence doesn't implement itself. but leaders do. Your role, our role as a leader is critical. You need to model evidence-informed thinking. When your team sees you asking, what does the data show? They'll start asking the same question. You need to create safe spaces for experimentation. If staff are punished every time pilot program doesn't work perfectly, they'll stop trying new approaches. Innovation requires psychological safety. You need to build institutional capacity, invest in training, hire analysis, create data system, and you need to navigate political realities also. Yes, evidence should inform decisions, but you're operating in a political environment. Uh, sa akin na lang, for example, sa amin pong sa PNP, the skills is maintaining commitment to evidence while working with political constraint. And you need to foster a learning culture where mistakes are seen as opportunities to improve, not reasons to blame. Let me give you another example. The Department of Interior and Local Government implemented performance-based grants to LGUs. They didn't just hand out money. They measured performance, paired the results, and adjusted criteria based on what the data showed. That leadership commitment made the difference. Next slide, sir. So effective PBDM leadership start with self-awareness. Do you know your own strengths and weaknesses? I encourage you to conduct personal SWOT analysis. Strengths, excuse me po. Strengths maybe you have a strong analytical skills, credibility with stakeholders, or experience with evaluation methods. Weakness, perhaps you have limited understanding of certain policy domains, insufficient political networks, or discomfort with ambiguity. Third, opportunities for opportunities. Are there organizational reform initiative you can leverage new data sources, growing political support for evidence-based approaches? Then threats, what resistance might you will face? Budget constraints, competing priorities. Let us be brutally honest to ourselves. This isn't about self-criticism, it's about self-knowledge. When you understand your limitations, you can build complementary teams. When you recognize your biases, you can guard against them, distorting evidence interpretation. Next slide, please. Beyond technical skills, you need emotional intelligence. Self-awareness, recognize when your own biases or emotions are influencing how you interpret evidence. Then self-regulation, you we are going to manage our reaction when evidence contradicts assumptions. We all had that moment. This data can't be right. It doesn't match what I expected. That's when emotional intelligence matters. Then we have empathy. Understand why staff members might feel threatened by evidence-based approaches. Change is hard. People feared that data will expose their failures. For the social skills, build trust with stakeholders, facilitate difficult conversations. Evidence-based reform requires coalition building. Then we have motivation. Maintain your commitment to evidence-based principles even when it's politically inconvenient. Here's another scenario. You're a director at the SWD, and evaluation shows that the flagship program you champion isn't working as intended. Your first instinct might be defensiveness, but an emotionally intelligent leader asks, what can we learn from this? How we can improve? That's the mindset that transforms organizations. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Now let's move to our final section, ethical leadership and decision making. Evidence-based decision making doesn't eliminate ethical dilemmas. Sometimes it creates them, like political pressure versus scientific advice. During the pandemic, some officials faced intense pressure to reopen economies despite health experts warning against it. But what What do you do when politics and evidence conflict? O yung mga tanong. Selective use of evidence. You have 5 evaluation reports. 3 support your prepared policy. 2 don't. Do you cite all 5 or just the favorable ones? That's ethical choice. Efficiency versus equity. Evidence might show that concentrating resources in urban areas maximizes overall impact. But what about remote rural communities? They're Filipino citizens too. Evidence-based doesn't mean equity blind. Cost of evidence versus benefits. Rigorous evaluations are expensive. In a resource-constrained environment, should you spend 10 million on an evaluation or use that money for other direct services? Blame avoidance versus public interest. Honest evaluations might reveal failures. Releasing those findings could damage your agency's reputation, but hiding them betrays the public trust. These aren't hypothetical dilemmas. You will face them too. Your integrity will be tested. Next slide, please. So, what values should you give? Truth-seeking and intellectually honest. Even when evidence is uncomfortable to you, you honor it. Public service and common good, because your loyalty is to the Filipino, not to the narrow interest of personal advancement. Respect for diverse perspective. Evidence doesn't speak for itself. Different stakeholders interpret it differently based on their values and experience. And humility about evidence. Excuse me po. Limitations. Evidence informs decisions. It doesn't make them. There's always uncertainty. Then we must acknowledge it. Transparency in decision process. Make explicit how evidence inform your choices. When you have to make value judgment, explain them. Let me illustrate with a story. A municipal mayor in Mindanao faced pressure from local elites to continue a scholarship programs that primarily benefited their children. An evaluation showed that program wasn't reaching poor families. The mayor chose transparency. He shared the fundings publicly and redesigned the program to target genuine needed. It cost him politically, but he can sleep well at night. That's ethical leadership. Next slide, please. How do we navigate these ethical challenges? First, inclusive and consultative processes. Engage stakeholders systematically. Use transparent evidence routines. When decisions are made in the open, it's hard to manipulate evidence. Second, institutional incentives for integrity. Create protected space from honest evaluation. Reward staff who acknowledge failures and learn from them rather than punishing them. Third, use structured ethical decision-making frameworks. When facing a top call, systematically consider technical evidence about effectiveness, equity implications for different groups, procedural fairness in how you're deciding, stakeholder values and preferences, resource constraints and opportunity costs, long-term sustainability. By working through these dimensions, you make more balanced decisions that hold integrity, accountability, and transparency while staying grounded in evidence. Next slide, please. Let me end with hope. Despite the challenges, there are genuine Philippine success stories in evidence-based decision making. DOH Appeal Health Reform, I mentioned this earlier. The use health outcomes data to redesign benefit packages, protecting more Filipinos from financial hardship. The DILG's performance-based grants to LGUs, meron din po kami yan. They measured LGU performance across multiple indicators, reward high performance and help struggling LGUs improve. It created healthy competition and raised standard nationwide. The DSWD Pantawid Pamilya Filipino Program or the 4Ps. Rigorous evaluations have continuously improved program design. The evidence showed that the program reduces poverty and improved child health and education outcomes. NEDA's evidence-based Philippine Development Plan. They don't just write aspirational document. They ground the PDP in data about what's actually happening in the Philippine society and what interventions have proven effective. The DBM's performance-informed budgeting initiatives, moving toward allocating resources based on agency performance and program effectiveness, not just historical precedent. This example proves it's possible. Evidence-based governance isn't just a foreign concept. It's happening here now in the Philippines. So, next slide, please. So, where do we go from here? Build our analytical and emotional intelligence. Take courses in research methods, data analysis, and leadership. Read evaluation reports. Practice interpreting evidence critically. Champion evidence use in your agency. Start small, pick one program and commit to rigorous evaluations. Share the findings, even they're uncomfortable. Then we build momentum. Creating learning friendly cultures. When mistake happen, ask what we can learn about it, not who we can blame. Navigate politics without abandoning evidence. You don't have to choose between being politically savvy and evidence-based. The best leaders are both. Then model ethical, transparent decision making. Your staff are watching you. If you cherry pick evidence, they will too. If you embrace transparency, so will they. The journey of evidence-based governance is long. There will be setbacks, but every step forward, every program improved by evaluation, every peso allocated more effectively, every policy grounded in evidence is a step toward better governance for our kababayan. Next slide, please. For my reference, sir, these are my academic sources that inform this presentation. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for listening, Doc, classmates. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas, mabuhay ang tahanan ng aking lipi, mabuhay po ang Pilipino. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you so much. So the discussions highlight that evidence-based decision making begins with clearly defining public problems and policy questions before collecting or using data. When problems or concerns are well framed, public administrators can identify the most relevant indicators, data sets, and research methods needed, to guide decisions. And this ensures that evidence is purposeful and directly linked to policy objectives rather than being collected for compliance alone. So in the Philippine setting, this step is crucial, to avoid fragmented data use across agencies. Another key point emphasized is the diversity of evidence sources available to public administrator. And these include quantitative data such as statistics and performance metrics, as well as qualitative evidence like stakeholder consultations, community feedback, and case studies. So combining these resources or sources allows decision makers to capture both measurable outcomes and live experiences of citizens. And this balance use of evidence helps ensure that policies are not only efficient but also socially responsive and inclusive. So the presentation also underscored the importance of institutional capacity, in using evidence effectively. So data alone, okay? So data alone does not improve governance unless public servants have the skills, systems, and organizational culture to analyze and interpret it. Strengthening capacity through training, digital systems, and interagency data sharing is therefore essential because in our country, this support reforms toward digital governance and result-based management. A significant takeaway is that evidence-based decision-making support transparency and accountability when decisions are justified through clear data and documented analysis. It becomes easier for oversight bodies, citizens, and stakeholders to understand why certain policies or programs were chosen. And this reduces perception of bias or politicization, and reinforces ethical standards in public administration. It also enables better monitoring, and evaluations of government performance over time. So the discussion reinforces that evidence-based decision making is a continuous process rather than a one-time activity. Policies must must be regularly reviewed, evaluated, and adjusted, no, based on the evidence and changing condition. So for Philippine governance, this adaptive approach is vital in responding to emerging challenges such as crisis, technological change, and evolving public needs. No, in essence, no, evidence-based decision making foster a learning-oriented government that continuously improves in pursuit of public value and governance excellence. Okay, so congratulations to our presenter and good morning.